Hello and welcome to this second Aldi and Lidl tool video. I've got some more tools to show you, and we're going to start off with this diamond grinding bit set that I got that I should have actually included in the last video. These are to fit a multi-tool like Lidl's own Parkside range, or indeed a Dremel Multi-Tool. Since filming, I have actually used these when I was restoring a steam locomotive in model form, and they came in very handy. They're very sharp, as you can see. They're just gently scratching my nail. They are very sharp and look to be very well made. As I said, I have used these and it did the job I asked of it. There's various different sizes and shapes in there for all manner of different tasks that may need a grinding tool. And they come in this handy little plastic box. These retail about £2.99 and I think they're very good value for money. On the back of the box there, it gives you an example of what you can use them for. I used mine on a piece of metal and it cut through it really easily. The second thing we're going to look at is this magnetic tray. I really wish I'd got one of these sooner. As you'll see when I take it out of the box, it is simplicity itself. It is a stainless steel metal tray with two magnets underneath and two rubber feet to stop it scratching your workbench. I do a lot of maintenance on model trains and their screws are easily lost as they're so small. I'm going to demonstrate that now by taking a few spare screws out of my screw storage unit, and you'll see by dropping them in the tray they just stick to the magnets and won't get lost. These magnets are extremely powerful, and as you can see, holding it upside down and shaking it, the screws don't come loose. This is now going to be a permanent addition to my workbench. This retails about £4 and again came from Lidl's. This really is excellent. I wish I'd got one of these sooner. Not only can you use it to store screws in, but you can also use it to store metal tools like screwdrivers and scalpels. The rubber feet on the bottom there are securely fitted, and as I said, they're fitted to stop it scratching your work surface or tables wherever you decide to use this. Removing the screws is easy, but the magnet is strong enough to hold them in place. It's a nifty little bit of kit this, and as I said, like, if you put your scalpel in or screwdrivers, it does hold them in place so that they're not on your workbench and in danger of hurting yourself on them. I'm really happy with that. That's quite good. Now, in the last video, people were saying to me, you've bought the Parkside tools for your Dremel, why not use a Lidl's own Dremel Multi-Tool? So that is exactly what I've bought. I've been out and purchased this multi-tool, which apparently is cordless and rechargeable, from Lidl's. This retails about £20, so we're going to have a look now at what comes with it. It's quite a hefty piece of kit, and there's the charging lead, and as usual nowadays it's just a USB lead for charging. This pack in itself comes with a few accessories, and we'll go and have a look at these now, after I've got the instruction manual out from underneath the case in there. The instruction manual is quite thick, but it's only about 4 pages that actually has the English language on. The rest is for other countries throughout Europe. The tools you get with the multi-tool case itself, you get some grinding stones and some more of the diamond grinding bits that we've just seen in the other pack. These are little various sizes. You also get 4 collets for the multi-tool itself. There's actually 5 included, as there is one in the multi-tool already. You get a brass and nylon brush. These holders are for the cutting discs, and there are various little drill bits included there, and there's also the collet spanner. This tub here is full of the polishing pads and cutting discs that you get with it. All in all, it looks like it's going to be very good value for money. So I'm going to charge it up now and we're going to have a look at its performance. As I said, the first couple of pages in this book are English, the rest we can disregard as it's in a foreign language. They obviously sell this tool Europe wide. The multi-tool itself comes with a lead, as I mentioned, that is USB chargeable, as is most things nowadays. So I'm going to put it on charge, and as you can see, you turn it on with a little switch at the bottom and it's got a charging gauge underneath the motor control. While that charges up, we're going to have a look at this next thing, which is a suction vise that I picked up from Aldi. Unboxing this is quite a hefty piece of kit and weighs quite a lot. This allegedly sucks to your workbench top or any smooth surface and holds steady, but we'll give it a go. I did find upon testing it would not stick to a cutting mat. It just wasn't the type of material that this thing sticks to. So I'm going to unscrew this clamp now and put the vise in the upright position, and then get my portable workbench to see if it will stick to that, as that has a shiny surface. This is quite a hefty piece of kit and it looks to be well made. So I'm going to give it a couple of tests just to see how durable it is. As I said, the suction will not stick to that cutting mat. Here's a portable workbench that I've got, and it has a smooth surface. Pushing it down and then pulling the lever, it sucks the bottom suction cup up and it sticks firm. As you can see, I can lift the whole workbench up with that just by the vise and it doesn't come off. That really is good suction. It also comes with a couple of rubber protectors for the vise grips. These can be taken off if needed, but they protect the work you're doing from being marked by the metal teeth. These seem good quality rubber and just slide on and off as needed. That is a handy thing to have, as I work with models. Sometimes using vices can mark the surfaces of various different materials such as metals and plastics. I'm going to clamp this as hard as I can now on this wooden dowel to see if it marks it at all. Dowels have got ribs on the side, and clamping this as hard as it will go with the rubber mounts will see if any of the ribs get damaged. Undoing the vise, we take the dowel out, and as you can see there's no damage at all. The rubber protectors have done their job. That's a good thing. Also, while I'm at it, I'm going to show you these magnetic strips I've also picked up from Lidl. You get 3 different sizes, and this small size I've actually screwed onto this portable workbench. The other 2 are around my main workbench just out of camera view. These are extremely handy, as if I'm taking models apart and do not have my magnetic tray handy, I can use them to store screws and to stand my screwdrivers upright and out of the way of the work area. Again, these are from Lidl and retail about £5 a pack. Next up is this multi-tool accessory box that I picked up at the same time as I got the multi-tool. This was £15, and we're going to have a look at what's included. There is a small instruction book giving you a contents, but we'll go through them anyway. Removing the plastic cover, you can see there is quite a lot in this little tub. There are some grindstones, there are some drill bits, there are even collets for the multi-tool itself. There are yet more diamond grinding discs, so I won't have to buy any of them anytime soon, along with various brushes and drill bits and brass brushes and sanding pads there. This middle section actually lifts up, and I'll show you in a second that there's actually more in this than you can actually see. But there's a variety of different grind discs and sanding pads there. Lifting the middle bit up, you are greeted with a view of various cutting discs, polishing pads, there's a knife sharpener and some gel there for polishing metal up. For £15 you really do get a lot for your money. There's also extra collets for the multi-tool should you lose any. These collets do not fit in a normal Dremel, they only fit in the Parkside range. All in all, the whole thing cost £35 for the multi-tool and the box of accessories. So modelling on a budget, this really does offer good value for money. Here is the parts list of what you get, and it's all detailed in the instructions. You do get a lot in this pack, and it should tide me over for a couple of years. Going easy and taking care of your tools, you shouldn't have to buy any drill bits or sanding discs for a couple of years after purchasing this. It all folds away and is kept neatly in this nice plastic container which is easily stored. The lid simply clips on. You don't have to reuse the plastic bit like I did, but I just put it on just for completeness. Once the lid is clipped on, you can store that easily on your tool bench. Next up is a soldering iron, a variable temperature soldering iron, again that I picked up from Lidl's in their Parkside range. My model railway is digital and I do a lot of soldering, so I picked this up just to give it a go. I do not have a variable temperature soldering iron, so it'll be interesting to see how this works. This was about £10, so I'm not expecting great things, but we'll have a look anyway. The instruction manual was stuck to the side of the box, and also included in the box are 2 reams of solder and an additional tip for the soldering iron, a flat-ended tip as opposed to the pointed one that's already fitted. That may come in handy because my Antec soldering iron, which I normally use, only has 1 tip. There is a temperature gauge there on the soldering iron, as well as the on-off switch. There's also a container at the back containing a sponge, and this also holds the rolls of solder that come with it. The stand simply clips into the side like that, and we're good to go. Before I plug it in, I'm going to have a look at the solder that comes with it. There are two variations, one thin and one thick. These go in the back, as I said, along with the spare tip, and there's a storage space for all this so nothing gets lost. That flat bladed tip for this soldering iron may come in handy when I'm soldering dropper wires to my model railway. The spare tip simply fits in one of them holes, and the reels of solder sit either side, making it quite nice and tidy and out of the way. The soldering iron itself is rather a large thing, and because the wire has been folded up in the box, it is a little bit clunky to start with, as the wire keeps pulling it in one direction. It is bigger than my Antex soldering iron, so it'll be interesting to see how I get on with this. A direct comparison shows you that the Antex is a lot more slim-lined and may be a bit more easy to hold. But then I've only just got it, so we're going to have a look. This having a pointed tip on the Parkside one will become in handy, I think, for finer jobs when soldering. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug this in to heat up, and then I'm going to get some scrap brass and some white metal to test the various temperatures. It's been plugged in for a couple of minutes now, and just holding it near my hand I can feel the heat. This is set at 100 degrees, so it should melt the solder and not the white metal parts. These are scrap white metal parts, so if it does get melted, I've not lost anything. But as you can see, it has melted the solder and not the white metal, so I am impressed with that. So now I'm turning it up to its highest temperature, and we'll wait for it to heat up. And now I'll see if it will solder this scrap brass to this sheet of brass. These are two different gauges of brass, so it'll be interesting to see how this reacts. It's melting the solder and the flux nicely, and as you can see after laying it down, it makes the brass heat up so that the solder flows. So far so good, and I am impressed with this. It hasn't taken as long to heat up as my Antex one, and it did heat up rather quickly. The soldering joint is strong, and as you can see on the reverse side of the brass, that it did heat it up a lot, that it has come through, and it's also marked my wooden soldering pad. The only thing I don't like about it, and it is a little bit bad, is that ring you can see at the end there does get caught on the holder, so when you go to pull it out it can catch. It's a little bit of a design flaw, and I'm not overly happy with that, but other than that everything seems to be in good order. Once the sponge is soaked with water to clean the soldering iron tip, as you can see, it has expanded and filled the tray at the bottom. Anybody that solders will know it is important to keep your soldering iron tips clean. Do not leave old solder and flux to build upon the end, as it will corrode them and you'll ruin your equipment. We're back now to the suction vise on the portable workbench, and I'm going to test out a couple of things on the Parkside Multi-Tool range. First off, I'm going to start by drilling into this dowel. I was going to set the Multi-Tool on a medium setting to see how it drills into this wood, as dowel wood is quite hard to drill into. The power settings go from 1 to a maximum of 7, but the only thing I found that I don't like about it is there is no 0, so you have to start it on 1 using the switch at the bottom. The battery gauge there, as you can see, has 3 markings: green for fully charged, and so on. When it's yellow it's nearly out, and when it's red it dies. I'm not overly keen with the switching system on this. I do wish it had a 0 setting so you could turn the tool on and then gradually make up the speed instead of using the switch on the bottom. However, using it on the dowel, it does drill in really well. The drill bits provided are nice and sharp, and there's no issues at all drilling into this wood. I have used this since on variation of wood and plywood on my model railway, and it seems to work just as well. As you can see, it's cutting through that wood nice and easily. The drill bit does not lose any of its sharpness by doing this. I also, for good measure, drill into the side of the dowel just to test it at a different depth, and again it cuts through no issues. Yeah, I'm pleased with how this is performing so far. The next thing I'm going to try is a cutting disc, and this is where I found another problem with the Dremel, with the Parkside Multi-Tool. I've put the cutting disc on as per the instructions. When I go to cut the wood, the part spins in the chuck, but the actual cutting disc doesn't. When you look at it, the actual cutting disc, there's something wrong with the thread, and the screw that holds the disc on, as you'll see now, doesn't tighten up. There's no thread in it at all, and it just will not tighten. I have used these a lot from Parkside in my own Dremel, and this is the first time I've encountered this problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-tap that hole and see if I can repair it later on. Luckily, the other one that's provided with the multi-tool and not in the multi-tool accessory pack worked fine, so I put a cutting disc in that and we'll go and try it again. It is unfortunate when doing reviews that you find things that are faulty, but then I guess that's the whole point in a review. This one is working fine, and as you can see, the cutting disc is in there nice and firmly. So setting it up to a medium setting, we're going to try and cut some of this wood on the dowel. You must go steady with these as the discs are easily broken, and that goes no matter what make of disc you use. No disc is unbreakable, and you must wear eye protection when doing this, because if the disc does break, the last thing you want is parts of it flying into your face. Working at a medium speed, the disc cuts through the wood really easily. There is some slight smoke there, but that's expected as we're drilling into wood. Drilling it on the other way, it cuts the wood nice and firmly to make a little chair out of the dowel, just for demonstration purposes. The one thing I am finding about this Parkside tool, which is winning over the Dremel, is the fact that it's cordless. That is a big plus for me at the moment. The next thing is the grinding tool. Now I'm using an old piece of metal here to try and grind a groove in this. I do sometimes take die-cast models apart, and these grinding tools are easy to use to remove rivets. This is cutting through the metal really easily, so again I'm happy with this. This is sharp and it's up to purpose so far. As you can see, there's a few sparks there flying off as I cut into this, but looking at it, it's actually done a very good job, just as I'd need to if I was grinding off rivets on models. Yeah, that has cut that quite nicely. So overall I am happy with it, and as I said, being cordless over my corded Dremel is a really big plus so far, although it is more cumbersome to handle and it doesn't seem to be as ergonomically designed as a Dremel. It's doing its stuff. As you can see, it is quite wide and you can't quite get the pencil grip that I like to have that I can with the Dremel. As I mentioned, that only goes to one. I do not like relying on the switch on the bottom to turn it on and off, as I think that could be caught. If you were working on the chuck or changing something, you could catch that and it could start turning on. Overall though, the Parkside multi-tool is not too bad. I do like the accessories, apart from the cutting disc thing that was broken, but time will tell how this pans out against the Dremel multi-tool that I've been used to for so many years. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and if you go to your local Lidl or Aldi, you may be able to pick up some of these tools. They are very affordable and they are quite good value. The soldering iron and the multi-tool I'm going to come back to in a future video. I'm going to give it a couple of months and I'm going to road test these and see how they get on. I'm not going to use my Dremel at all. I'm going to purely use the Parkside multi-tool and the Parkside soldering iron, and like I said, in a few weeks time or a couple of months I'm going to do another video reporting back on a long test to see how we get on and to see whether or not they are actually worth the money. So stay tuned for that for a future video. My personal favourite out of all of this is the magnetic tray. That really is awesome. So if you've liked what you've seen, please like, share and subscribe. Keep your eyes peeled at your local Aldi or Lidl for some of these tools, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.